What's up? Hi, I'm Andrea and I'm the founder of Bubbly Bar, which was formerly a bubble tea cocktail pop-up that served over 1,800 cocktails to companies like WeWork, Mizuho, and Amazon, etc. And I wanted to share with you guys how I became a founder and why I stopped being a founder. So here's the story. Here's the story behind Bubbly. Bubbly was like my heart and glory for a year, and I made the very difficult decision a few months ago to put it on hold because it was too difficult to be a founder. And what I've told people is that I felt like I wasn't professionally or emotionally ready to be a founder, and I don't really know how anyone my age does it, to be honest. It's very, very difficult, and I just didn't feel like at this point in my life I was ready. Before we get into that, I guess I should go into how it happened. So some of you might be interested in being founders yourself. Some of you might be founders already. Some of you might be in a position like me where you were a founder and now you're considering staying in or in pursuing a corporate role. How it happened for me was in college, I started a feminist underwear line, and that I got so trapped in the product development because developing a fashion product for the first time with no fashion experience is actually like really, really hard. And so without any experience, my neighbors are playing John Mayer. So if you can hear that, that's what's going on. Wow, I'm allergic to John Mayer. How it happened was, the John Mayer is totally throwing me off. What happened was, I have always loved bubble tea. I mean, in my young adult life, I didn't have it since I was a child, but since I tried it, I loved it. And I always wanted a way to have bubble tea at night, because most of the bubble tea shops were closed after 8 p.m., especially in Chicago, which is where I went to college. Oh, JK, there was a place open at 11, but it was really difficult to get, is what I'm trying to get to. And even in New York, living here now, it's super hard to get bubble tea after 10 p.m. Boba Guys is probably the latest bubble tea shop, except Bubbleology. Anyway, I could go on a tangent, but long story short, it was really hard. It is really hard to get bubble tea at night. So the way I wanted to combat this was to make a bubble tea cocktail bar. And I always kind of had this idea in the back of my mind. Like in college, I thought about it a lot, I said it a lot, but I never really did anything about it because what am I gonna do? I'm like a student. But then when I graduated, I met up with a mentor of mine. He said, you should just test recipes at home and see what happens. And so I bought 2 bottles of alcohol, bottles, I guess handles, I don't know, bought some Baileys, some coconut rum, and I started testing recipes. I would boil the tapioca at home. I hosted focus groups for my friends, and then once I finished those focus groups to test the recipes, I hosted a party, like a launch party, and I invited everyone I knew in New York. And at the time, I didn't really know anyone. It was like I had just moved here, but I invited every person that I'd ever really come into contact with who lived here. And surprisingly, the apartment was packed. I mean, everyone was interested to see what these cocktails had come out to be. And at the door, I asked for a pay what you can donation just to cover like the cost of alcohol and the cost of cups and things like that. I ended up making a profit. Wasn't crazy or anything like that, but I made a profit, and I thought, maybe I could make a business out of this. I hosted another party, and again, I was able to cover my costs, and I thought, I wonder if I can continue this and do outreach at other places. So with barely any marketing, I hosted a happy hour, or I catered a happy hour at a WeWork office in New York, and that led to every WeWork in Manhattan reaching out to me, almost every WeWork, for a happy hour. And then after that, it just kind of exploded. I was hosting happy hours every Thursday for months on end, and it seemed like it was never going to end. But it was exciting. I loved doing it, and I was doing it all by myself, and that meant buying the materials, which in New York without a car, it's really difficult unless you order everything. But there are some things you can only really buy in person for the price that I wanted to buy them at. So, going to Chinatown and carrying the tapioca bags all the way back to my apartment because I didn't want to pay for like an Uber or a taxi cab. And then, I would cook the tapioca, but the tapioca has to be cooked, not too far in advance because then the tapioca balls harden. I was cooking the tapioca myself, making all the things myself. And then what I would do on these happy hour days is I put all the materials in boxes when it was ready, and I got a dolly that my friend had gotten as a white elephant present. White elephant? Secret Santa? I don't know. White elephant, I think. But she had gotten a dolly, and so I would put everything on the dolly, and in order to save on money, save on transportation, I would actually like wheel the dolly across Manhattan, sometimes for an hour or more, just to not have to pay for a subway ride or pay for a taxi cab ride, because they were paying me barely enough to cover my costs, and so every dollar that I could save, I would. So I would be like sweating by the time I got there, but it was so fun because I got to engage with different people, meet totally different founders at all these WeWorks. It was just super fun and interesting. After I was growing it for a while, I competed at the Booth Alumni New Venture Challenge, and that's where it all kind of really started to take off, because I didn't win, but I met two people who then connected me through the startup scene after that, and I got connected to Halo Incubator, which is a female incubator or female startup incubator led by female founders, and it was awesome. I got to learn so much and meet these founders who were like just the smartest, most amazing women, and it was basically an 8-week crash course on how to start a company. I learned supply chain, marketing, financial modeling, everything. I mean, it was so, so helpful. And it was through that process that I realized that the real business was not in bubble tea cocktails. It was going to be in bottled bubble tea. Something that I could mass produce on a scale and not have to make by hand. And meanwhile, I have a full-time job, like 9 to 5, doing data analytics at a market research company. And it was extremely hard to navigate, because every Thursday I would be, working from home while the tapioca's boiling, and it was just extremely stressful. And then I would go to San Francisco for startup competitions and take calls to investors and things like that. It was just really, really, really stressful to manage. But at the time, I thought that I would eventually take Bubbly full time, so I thought it was worth it, and it was an investment, right? But it was taking a huge toll on my mental and physical health. I really thought I was gonna be a founder full time. But the thing is, it wasn't healthy for me. It wasn't. Because I had no savings. I mean, I wasn't saving money for my full-time job. And I couldn't pay rent in New York just from the bubble tea gigs. Then it all kind of came to a head when I was having some health problems, just dealing with anxiety and dealing with just feeling sick all the time. And finally I had to make the decision to quit something, and I decided I wasn't ready. What is this song that's playing? Okay. I think sometimes, maybe a lot of people feel this way, where we have to decide what we value the most. Do we value money? Do we value, feeling fulfilled on a daily basis? And then what does fulfillment really mean for different people and in different times in our lives? So I just really had to grapple with that at a young age, and maybe all of us feel that way, but I felt like it was really hitting me hard. Starting a company was the most life-changing, amazing experience ever. I mean, I felt the highest highs, but I also felt the lowest lows. It is so unstable, and being an entrepreneur, I mean, I just have newfound respect for anyone who started a company. You really don't know how challenging it is to do every single part of it until you try and fail, or try and succeed. But in my case, I tried and failed. But I remember the hardest part was emailing some of the investors who I had spoken with when I decided to quit. I was kind of ignoring my emails for like a month. I couldn't, when you get so much anxiety about something, it's like, I can't even respond, or I can't even do anything. I get so stressed out about work, I just want to nap. Like, that's kind of how I was feeling. And for a whole month, maybe even more than a month, I didn't respond to any of the emails about Bubbly. I totally left people in the dark, but it was because I just felt so ashamed that I'd given up, It wasn't until I finally came to terms with that decision that I was able to reach out and respond and say, I'm so sorry I haven't responded yet, but I actually decided to stop doing Bubbly. And honestly, no one really cared, in the sense that they cared about my well-being more than my company staying afloat, And all these people who had invested so much time and energy and sometimes money into my company, I felt so ashamed to tell them because I didn't want to let them down. But at the end of the day, they just wanted me to succeed and me to be happy. And if that's what I needed to be happy, then that's what I needed. Anyway, that is the story of my startup and how I started a company. It was freaking insane. But I wouldn't have it any other way. And there's so many specific stories and details within that big story, but I don't want to make this like a long video, I think people barely get through 10-minute ones as it is. But if you have any specific questions, like, feel free to comment and message me. I'm always more than happy to answer any questions. It's a really tough thing to navigate, and if you're navigating it right now and stressing out about it, like, I'm right there with you, or I'm saluting you. And just know that I'm out here supporting you, and no matter what you're doing, you're learning from it, and that's all that matters. So anyway, I'm Andrea. I am the founder of Bubbly Bar and Body Arrest, and I will continue to make videos about startups, how to pitch, what to wear to a pitch, all kinds of things. So talk to you guys soon.